When it comes to retirement funding and retirement planning, one often talks about how much one needs in order to retire comfortably. Now, the retirement targets with which South Africans are most familiar is that they need to replace 75% of their pre-retirement income after retirement. Now, we hear the 75% replacement ratio used so often, we sometimes don't stop to question where it comes from or if it's truly appropriate. And we would argue that perhaps it's time to retire the 75% replacement ratio for at least 3 reasons. Firstly, the one-size-fits-all target is probably not appropriate. We can estimate how much individual households need in order to be able to retire comfortably. What we do is we look at how much they spend before retirement and how much we expect that consumption to change once they reach retirement. If we do this for thousands upon thousands of households, we find a huge variation in how much the households need in order to be able to retire comfortably. Secondly, the 75% target might not be high enough. Now, different households have different targets, but for at least 90% of households, 75% of their pre-retirement income simply isn't enough. Thirdly, the replacement ratio might not be the best measure in South Africa. The reason for this is that we seldom work for the same employer from the beginning of our careers to the end. And as a result, we often have little pension pots in various places. Now, unless you have a crystal ball or an actuary at your disposal, it's going to be very difficult to know how those different pension pots are going to grow over time to allow you to retire. Even if you do get pension projections from each of your retirement funds, it's not as simple as adding the replacement ratios together. And the reason for this is in each replacement ratio, there is an implicit assumption about what sort of annuity you're going to buy when you retire. If different assumptions are made in different places, you can't add the replacement ratios together anymore. We would argue that a wealth earnings ratio is perhaps more appropriate. And what a wealth earnings ratio is simply the multiple of your annual salary that you need at retirement in order to retire comfortably. So for example, we know that 75% of single women will need 17.5 times their annual salary or less in order to be able to retire comfortably. So if you're a single woman earning 100,000 Rand per annum, it means that you're going to need 1.75 million Rand accumulated at retirement in order to be able to retire comfortably. This might be a lot easier for individuals like you and me to assess if we're on track for a comfortable retirement or not. We've just said that having a single target for all people is probably not appropriate. So does that mean that retirement funds should give up on having a single target? Well, probably not. You see, trustees of funds need targets in order to set their policies. What is important, though, is if a retirement fund does have a single target, that target is communicated to members. That way, if a member's target is higher than that provided by the fund, the member can make plans in order to ensure that they reach their own retirement target. And if that fund is going to be over-providing for the member's needs, they can also make other arrangements. It's sometimes tempting to think that overshooting your retirement target is always going to be a good thing. The fact of the matter is that it's not, because financial health is about having enough income and net assets to meet your needs throughout your life, and to have enough protection in place that you can continue to do so, even if life throws some curveballs in your path. This requires a delicate balancing act between your current consumption, your protection products, and your savings needs. And it means that you're going to need to be able to allocate your money efficiently between these 3 areas. For some people, it's simply a matter of budgeting, and they'll be able to meet all their needs. For others, it's going to be a very difficult trade-off, which may mean being unable to meet their targets in one or more areas. And this is why it's very important to be able to have an understanding of what an efficient allocation of your money is and how much you're going to need in the various areas.